All right, today we're going to be talking about how to perform transformations of parent functions, and we'll be able to transform parent graphs given an equation. So a few reminders. A is going to stretch / shrink your graph, or it can flip it. H moves the graph left or right, and K moves the graph up or down. So in this example, if we want to graph this, the first thing we have to do is find A, H, and K. A is your number that comes right after the equal sign, so 2. H is the opposite of what's in the parentheses with the x, so 3. And K is 1 on the end. We also need to recognize that because we have this little 3 here, we're dealing with a cubic function. If you look at your index cards that we made, the chart that's on your card would be -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, with -8, -1, 0, 1, and 8. And those are the numbers we're going to start with. The next thing we need to do is take our y's and multiply them all by our a value, which was 2 this time. So the x's stay the same, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And all of these y's get multiplied by 2, so it'd be -16, -2, 0, 2, and 16. Then we're going to use H and K to get our final chart. So all these x values are going to get added with 3. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to add 1 to all of these, so -15, -1, 1, 3, and 17. Now, obviously, -15 and 17 are way bigger than our graph will fit, and that's fine. So 1, -15, somewhere down here. 2, -1, 3, 1, 4, 3, and 5, 17 would be someplace up here. So this is our sideways S for our cubic. Make sure you put arrows on both ends. Because we have 2 arrows, we know our domain is -infinity to infinity. 1 arrow is pointing down and 1 arrow is pointing up, so our range is -infinity to infinity. And for our end behavior, the x's are positive, that's our right arrow, it's pointing up. And as the x's go towards negatives, our left arrow is going down. Our next example, A is out front, so that would be 3. H is the opposite of what's inside, so that's -1. And since there's nothing on the end, our K is 0. Because it has the 2 straight lines like that, we know that this is absolute value. So we're going to find our absolute value note card and write down the chart from that, which would be -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, with 2, 1, 0, 1, 2. So again, multiply the first things, multiply y with a, so keep our x's the same, and then we're going to multiply all of these y's by 3, which would give us 6, 3, 0, 3, 6. Add h to all our x's, add k to our new y's. So we're going to subtract 1 from all of these, so -3, -2, -1, 0, and 1. K is 0, so adding 0 won't change our y values. And let's plot them. -3, 6, -2, 3, -1, 0, 0, 3, and 1, 6. Make our V shape and put arrows on the end. Because we have 2 arrows, we know our domain is negative infinity to infinity. Our range, we start at 0 and go up. And both our ends are pointing up, so both our end behaviors go towards positive infinity. All right, so this one, in front we have a negative 1/2, that's our a value. Since we don't have the parentheses or anything inside the squared with the x, we know our h is 0, and then the +5 would be our k value. Since we have the little squared, we know this is a quadratic function. So we would find our quadratic note card. The table on the quadratic note card is -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. Start by multiplying our our y's with a. So 1/2 of 4 would be 2, make it negative. 1/2 of 1 is 0.5, make it negative. 1/2 of 0 is 0, -0.5, and -2. Then our x is plus h, and our y is plus k. So h is 0, so our x's don't change. We're going to add 5 to our y's, which will give us 3, 4.5, 5, 4.5, and 3. So -2, 3, -1, 4.5, 0, 5, 1, 4.5, and 2, 3. This one makes our U shape, so make sure you don't make it too pointy. Arrows on the end. Since we have 2 arrows, our domain's negative infinity to infinity. Our range, our arrows are pointing down this time, so it's going to start with negative infinity. It's going to stop at 5. And since both our arrows are pointing down, both our end behaviors are going towards negative infinity. Now let's try one where we're given the graph and we want to find the equation. So the first part we want to find is our middle point, our center point, which would be right here. That's going to give us our h and k values. So this is at -3, -1, so h is -3, k is -1. To find a, you're always going to start at that center point and go 1 box to the right. However many boxes you have to go up or down to get to the point on that line is your a value. So we have to go down 2. Down 2 would be -2, so a is -2. To know which thing to use in our equation, we have to look at the shape. Since this makes a V shape, we know that it's an absolute value function. So after y equals, the a comes first. Then we're going to use our lines for absolute value. We're going to have x. Remember, h looks opposite in the formula, so instead of -3, we're going to put +3. And then our k value goes on the end, so -1. That's all for today. Fill out your summary.